This is San Francisco in the 1800s, a city at the edge of the world, waiting to change.
At the start of the 19th century, around 1800, San Francisco was little more than a remote settlement on the edge of the Pacific. Fewer than 1,000 people lived here. The landscape was dominated by fog, wind, and open land. Dirt paths connected scattered buildings, and the sound of the ocean shaped daily life. There was no sense of urgency, no rush toward the future. Time moved slowly. Life revolved around survival, trade, and routine. Ships arrived occasionally, bringing supplies and news from distant places, then disappeared back into the horizon. For decades, San Francisco remained isolated, far removed from the centers of power shaping the rest of the world. A quiet but important shift occurred in 1821, when California became part of Mexico. The settlement, then known as Yerba Buena, began functioning as a modest port town. Trade increased, ranching expanded into the surrounding hills, and the population grew gradually. Wooden homes, small warehouses, and docks lined the shore. Still, Yerba Buena was not yet a city. It was a place in transition, waiting for something larger to arrive. Change came not with noise, but with inevitability.
The flag changed hands today.
In 1846, during the Mexican-American War, control of the region changed hands. American forces entered Yerba Buena, raising new flags and establishing new authority. The transition was swift, and with it came new laws, new systems, and new ambitions. Just 1 year later, in 1847, Yerba Buena was officially renamed San Francisco. The name reflected both geography and aspiration. Streets were mapped. Land was measured. Plans were drawn faster than they could be realized. The settlement was no longer content to remain small.
The maps align perfectly.
San Francisco had begun its transformation. By 1850, the pace of growth had become overwhelming. California entered the United States as a state, and San Francisco emerged as its primary coastal hub. People arrived daily. Buildings rose almost overnight. Speed mattered more than safety, and wood was the material of choice. Structures stood close together, packed tightly into narrow streets. The city was expanding faster than it could protect itself. Fire soon exposed this weakness. Between 1850 and 1851, a series of devastating fires tore through San Francisco. Entire blocks were reduced to ash. Streets that had been crowded the night before lay silent by morning. Smoke lingered in the air, and rebuilding began almost immediately. Each disaster reshaped the city. Wooden structures were replaced with brick and stone. Streets widened. The skyline grew heavier, more permanent. San Francisco learned that survival required constant rebuilding. By the 1860s, San Francisco had become a city that never rested. The port operated day and night. Markets buzzed with activity. Horse-drawn carts rattled over uneven roads. The sounds of construction, commerce, and labor filled the air. The city hardened itself. Banks, hotels, warehouses, and government buildings reshaped the landscape. Brick replaced wood. Stone replaced ash. San Francisco was no longer fragile, but it was restless. Every year brought more people, more pressure, and more complexity. A major transformation arrived in 1873 with the introduction of cable cars. For the first time, the city could easily navigate its steep hills. Neighborhoods expanded upward, distance shrank, movement became constant. Gas lamps illuminated streets at night. Newspapers carried news and opinion across the city by morning. Theaters and cultural institutions signaled confidence and ambition. San Francisco wanted to be modern, and it moved toward that future without hesitation. But progress did not arrive evenly. During the 1870s and 1880s, San Francisco became a city of sharp contrasts. Wealth gathered in certain neighborhoods, while overcrowding and poverty intensified in others. Immigrant communities formed distinct districts, bringing language, tradition, and labor that fueled the city's growth.
Their languages and traditions. Keep your head down. It's about to turn.
Tension followed opportunity. In 1877, unrest spilled into the streets. Protests turned violent. Fires burned again, this time driven by anger rather than accident. The city struggled to control itself, revealing the strain beneath its rapid expansion. San Francisco was growing faster than its systems could manage.
To rebuild from this destruction.
By 1890, the city stood among the largest and most influential urban centers in the American West. More than 300,000 people called it home. Tram lines crossed the hills. Industry, culture, and commerce collided daily. The city looked powerful, confident, and permanent. Yet beneath the surface, vulnerabilities remained. Buildings stood close together. Infrastructure strained under growing demand. The pace of life left little room for caution. San Francisco felt unstoppable, but it had not yet faced its greatest test. As the century drew to a close in 1900, San Francisco stood crowded, dense, and full of momentum. Fog still rolled in from the ocean, just as it had 100 years earlier. But now it drifted over a city of stone, steel, and ambition. The streets were alive with movement. The future felt near, and beneath it all, the ground remained silent, waiting. This was San Francisco in the 19th century. A city shaped by time, fire, growth, and pressure. A place that never stopped becoming something else. And the story was far from over.